Hello everyone, welcome back. I have quite a book haul here. I've collected these books over the past couple of weeks. Probably about 75% of them are from used bookstores. I did get some from Bookoutlet and Amazon, Costco. So I will start with a couple of series that I'm really happy I picked up and looking really forward to reading them. And the first one is by Ellie Griffiths, and it's a Dr. Ruth Galloway mystery. And the first one is the Crossing Places. So this takes place in England. Dr. Ruth Galloway is a forensic archaeologist, so she assists the police when they find a body that they need to identify. For example, this one child was missing about 10 years ago, and they came across a body and they need her assistance to identify the body, if it was this child or not. But they've gotten very, very good reviews on Goodreads, anywhere from 3.8 to 4.2, which is pretty high in my books. And this is the second one that I picked up at Amazon, and this is the Janus Stone. So yeah, they sound really, really good, and forensic archaeology is quite fascinating, and yeah, they've just gotten such good reviews. And then the second series, uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Staring right at it. This one, there's a psychiatry fellow, actually a woman, Dr. Zoe Goldman. So she is a psychiatry fellow at the local correctional facility. And so there's quite a few dangerous prisoners in here. And her patients are starting to die. Some are apparent suicide, some are possible accidents, but rumors are flying that Dr. Zoe Goldman's angel of death, intentionally helping hopeless cases go to a better place. And so she is trying to defend herself in that. But yeah, forensic archaeology, forensic psychiatry, those are always quite fascinating. And this is the second one, Little Black Lies. So yeah, a couple of series that I picked up that I'm really looking forward to getting into. And then, this other series, I found this at a used bookstore, and it's kind of similar to Outlander. This is by Julie McCullough. I think the first one is A Murder in Time, and then A Twist in Time. So I was kind of looking at the covers thinking, oh, this is probably not for me, but it's got the summaries and the reviews have been really good. So this woman is an FBI agent, and she goes on a mission with some colleagues, and it ends in disaster. I think some of her colleagues have died. So she travels to England to hunt down the man responsible for the deaths of her teammates. And then she ends up in this castle, and she's trying to track down this killer, and she ends up going into the stairwell and stepping into 1815. So if you can suspend your disbelief. So it's kind of that similar vibe to Outlander and that sort of thing, but it did get very good reviews. Yeah, so those are the first two. I'm not sure if there's more books in the series, but those are the first two books anyhow. And then went to Costco, and I did pick up the Alice Feeney book, Rock, Paper, and Scissors. So I've heard pretty good things about this one. So it's a couple that are, their marriage is kind of falling apart, and they win a trip to this Scottish chapel that's in the wilderness. So it's kind of an isolation thriller. I heard there's a lot of twists and turns, and they're both, the husband and wife, are kind of keeping secrets from each other. And yeah, so I'm going to probably read this in the winter time, because it's kind of a snowy isolation thriller. And the other one I got at Costco was the Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook. And I just love the cover. So nice. So this takes place on a Scottish island, and there's a lighthouse on it. And a lot of mysterious events and terrible tragedies have happened on this island. And the one event was a witch hunt. So About 20 years ago, a woman had fled to the island with her 3 daughters looking for a home. And within months, her daughter Luna will be the only one left. So Luna is the only survivor. I'm not sure if they were killed or they just disappeared, but the remaining daughter goes back 20 years later to find out what had happened. Alrighty, and then I did get this off Amazon, and it is, actually, it's from the Winnipeg Public Library. So this is Jennifer McMahon, The Invited, so I've heard some very good reviews on this. And basically, it's this couple, they find a very good deal on some land, and they want to build a house. And they know that it has a reputation for being haunted, but they want to build it anyhow. And yeah, needless to say, some creepy things happen. And I found this in a used bookstore also, The Martian by Andy Weir. This is a movie that was featuring Matt Damon, I believe. So I thought I would read the book first before I watched the movie. I don't know. For the most part, I do like the books over movies, so I thought I'd just read this one first. I'm not into sci-fi or anything like that, but it just sounds very interesting how he copes emotionally and physically isolated on a planet there. So, alrighty, and then I did find some Susanna Christie novels in the used bookstores, and I didn't realize, but she is a Canadian author. So she has the kind of the dual timelines, the present and the past. And I think in the past it took place in the 1900s, an isolated villa. And this playwright has a muse and a mistress, and he's quite obsessed with her and makes a play about her. But on opening night she disappears. And then 70 years later, I think it's 70 years later or something, the granddaughter decides to put on the play that her grandfather had written, and the main actress has the same name as the woman who disappeared 100 years ago or whatever. And then this is called Firebird by Susanna Christie. Now this is the second book in the series. The first book is The Winter Sea, which I ordered online. So yeah, I do like her her stories, kind of the dual timelines. So I do have to get the first one that's coming shortly. But yeah, this one takes place in Scotland and Russia and Belgium and all these other different places. Alrighty, and then this one is called Leave No Trace by Mindy Magia. So this one actually sounds quite intriguing. So this father and son go on a camping trip, and they mysteriously disappear. Their campsite is ransacked. They do a big search party, but they're presumed dead. And then 10 years later, the son shows up. He's largely uncommunicative. He has violent tendencies, and then the speech therapist tries to work with him to get him to talk and figure out what happened. And then Barbara Erskine, another author who does kind of the dual timelines. The last book I read of hers, The River of Destiny, actually had 3 different timelines. It was quite interesting. So the past takes place during 1940, during the Battle of Britain, the Second World War, and then the present day. And I just absolutely love the cover. So that's The Darkest Hour. And from Bookoutlet, years ago I watched a mini-series on TV, and this was many years ago, about penal colonies in Australia. So I'm assuming the jails in England got pretty crowded because you could be jailed for any tiny little thing. So they would send people to Australia, the penal colonies there. So this is called The Exiles by Christina Baker Klein. And this takes place first in England, and then I think it's the 1840s. So it follows these two women who were jailed for some minor crimes, and they're sent to Australia to serve their time there, and just follows these two women and also how the Aboriginals were treated in that. So it was nice to come across a book about the penal colonies in Australia and that time period, because I haven't actually read anything about that. So that looked really good. And then this one looked so intriguing. This is The Cure for Dreaming. And yeah, it's just, whoops, going the wrong way here. Absolutely gorgeous title. So this takes place in 1900. So a lot of the women back there had very few rights, or they couldn't vote. And this young woman is kind of rebellious. So yeah, to be rebellious in a woman back then just didn't work. So this father actually hires a hypnotist to see if he can hypnotize away the rebelliousness in his daughter. And it has just these really interesting photographs in here. Yeah, it just has quotes, different quotes from women, suffragettes, that sort of thing, with these really neat pictures. Oh, headquarters opposed to women's suffrage. So they didn't, yeah, they had people who didn't want women to vote. But yeah, it's just kind of their struggles and that sort of thing. So yeah, it looked like a really, really interesting book. And I did get The War Nurse. Being a nurse myself, I like reading about how nurses coped and the kind of procedures and medicines, etc. that they used in the past. And this is by Tracy Anderson Wood, The War Nurse, and this takes place during the First World War. And it just follows this woman and what she had to go through in that. And just reading a few pages, it sounds very, very interesting. Alrighty, and then The Bird Box. So I have not seen this movie. I think it starred Sandra Bullock, I believe. So yeah, I haven't watched the movie. I don't watch a lot of movies. I prefer reading. But I thought, yeah, you know what, I'm going to try this one. So this is where, in the future, where if you glimpse something terrifying that must not be seen, one glimpse and a person is driven to deadly violence. So everyone walks around with blindfolds on. There's just a handful of scattered survivors. So yeah, it's like about 250 pages or so. So yeah, I thought, hey, I might as well try it. And what else did I get here? The Woman in the Mirror by Rebecca James. And this looked like kind of a spooky gothic one. So Winterbourne Hall has stood atop a bluff overlooking the English countryside of Cornwall for more than 2 centuries. And this takes place in 2 different time periods. So there's 1947, where this woman accepts a position as a governess at this estate, looking after twin children, and then the present day also. So yeah, the summary sounds very, very intriguing. And this is The Sacrament by Olof Olofsson, and this is a Swedish writer. So a young nun is sent by the Vatican to investigate allegations of misconduct at a Catholic school in Iceland. And during her time there, a student witnesses the school's headmaster, Father Franz, falling to his death. And then 2 decades later, the boy who witnessed this calls the nun back to the scene of the crime, and they just want to, there's a lot of, what's it called? False memories and that sort of thing. He wants to know what really went on back then. And What else do we got here? The Lie Tree by Frances Harding. Now this doesn't have a summary on it, but I do know it takes place, I believe, in the 1800s, and I believe the father is a pastor, but he's a naturalist also, and he goes to this island to find fossils and just about the repression of women back in the Victorian times, etc. I just can't quite remember the actual summary. It's just reviews on here, but it sounded really, really good. And this is The Last Orphan by Stacey Halls. And this takes place in London in 1754, so 6 years after leaving her newborn at London's Foundling Hospital. Bess returns to reclaim the illegitimate daughter she has never known. So yeah, it's a lot of twists and turns go on with that story by the sounds of it. And this is The Widow of Rose House by Diana Biller. And again, I usually when I'm looking online, I check Goodreads too to make sure they get good reviews, and this one's gotten very good reviews also. So it's 1875 in New York. There's a Gothic mansion, a woman shadowed by a tragic past, and the man who loves her. So she is a woman returns to New York, and she is a widow, and there was some scandal that occurred, so she's kind of shunned by society, so she's trying to kind of rebuild her life and that sort of thing. So, and presently I'm just finishing up Agatha Christie, and then there were none. I just have a few pages left, and it's actually very, very good. It's been kind of hard to put down. It's very fast-paced and very interesting. So anywho, that's those are my books. Oh, I forgot. I put them away already, but I did get a couple more Tana French novels at the used bookstore also. She does the Dublin Murder Squad, and yeah, they're police procedural books, but the characters and kind of the twists and turns, I think they're kind of interesting. I really do like them. So I got The Likeness and Broken Harbor, and these are standalone. You don't necessarily have to read them in order because each book has different characters, different police officers in them, but I really do like the Tana French one. So anyway, that's my large book haul. But yeah, I just love going to those used bookstores. I went to Goodwill, and I guess this specific Goodwill just has books in it, and I went in and they had rows and rows of books, and they were in alphabetical order. All the authors were together, which you don't see too often in used bookstores, but man, I was just in heaven going through there. So anyway, hope I gave you some great ideas, and happy reading, and take care, be kind, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.